Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and this Western Conference playoff race is absolutely insane at the moment. Whether it's the crazy battle for the 2 through 4 seeds or the 6 through 8 seeds, everybody keeps winning, so nobody can move up any spots while simultaneously they're all trying to claw out of the play-in tournament and avoid that winner-go-home scenario against some other really good squads in that section of the standings. You've got this crazy thing going on with the 10 seed and the Mavericks and the Suns and even the Portland Trailblazers trying to make some noise. It has been a hyper-entertaining conference to follow the entire year, and I want to go ahead and break down the chaos with about a month left of the regular season, because I made one of these videos 2 months ago and I was actually looking back at it to see what my thoughts were on the West at the moment, and almost everything has changed since that video, which is crazy because again, it's been less than 2 months and everything feels like it has shifted. So I want to go ahead and break it down, basically just go from the 1 seed to the 15 and talk about my favorite storylines at the moment, where everybody is, how everybody is playing, and where I think they could end up by the end of the season. Let's start off at the top with my favorite team in the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were projected to be the 1 seed coming into the season. That was my prediction. Most people are going to tell you that and repeat that feat. And yeah, they're going to get the 1 seed. This is like the only thing in the playoff picture that isn't up for grabs. They are 11 games up on Denver at the moment. And I mean, as a Thunder fan, and I won't harp on them too long because I talk about them nonstop on this channel, but I couldn't be happier with the way this regular season is gone, especially when you consider the fact that Chet missed a lot of the year. Hartenstein was out to begin the season. They've dealt with some very significant injuries, and even still, they've run away with the West. Shea has been unbelievable. He's been the MVP frontrunner for a majority of the year, but Jokic continues to try and make statements to get it back in his favor. He's been ridiculous as well, and I'll talk about Denver in a moment. Of course, Jalen Williams made his first All-Star game. He's been great. The defense is ridiculous. And new additions like Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein have basically done exactly what I was hoping for. It's a loaded team. I think they're going to win the Western Conference, and in my very biased opinion, I think they will win the NBA Finals. They're one of the favorites to do so. And yeah, that's really all I was hoping for. All I could ask for coming into the season is that they performed up to the expectations, and they're going to shatter the Oklahoma City Thunder win record, which is amazing to see. So yeah, shout out to my favorite team. They have the 1 seed locked up, but everything else is very much up for grabs. Starting off with that 2 seed where Denver is at the moment, and I do think Denver will be the 2 seed going into the playoffs, which I believe I predicted it was either them or Dallas at the 2 spot. I think I had Denver at number 2, because even though I felt like they kind of messed up by losing KCP, which, I mean, I guess looking at it now, maybe it wasn't a mistake whatsoever. He's been bad for the Magic, specifically shooting the 3 ball, which is like the one thing they need him to do. Regardless, I thought the Nuggets had kind of a meh offseason. I like the addition of Russell Westbrook, but I felt like they didn't do a great job of adjusting other areas of concern, and I wasn't sure how the young guys were going to step up. And Christian Brown's been awesome. Jamal Murray's really found his footing over the course of the season. MPJ's been great. Aaron Gordon is a sniper now, and mainly Nikola Jokic, the guy who is known for putting up the unbelievable numbers, is putting up somehow even more unbelievable numbers, trying to win his 4th MVP award. He's the best player in the world. He's one of the greatest offensive players ever, having one of the greatest offensive seasons we have ever seen. Complete machine, and really, that was kind of why I thought they would end up as still a top 3 seed even after they struggled to begin the season, because it's Nikola Jokic. He just elevates basically any team to an insane level. I'm never going to bet against a Jokic team being any lower than like a 2 or a 3 seed, unless there's significant injuries, which they haven't faced throughout the season. So yeah, they have done a great job of maintaining against some of the other really good teams in the Western Conference, and I do believe they will be the 2 seed. And if I had to predict today, I think it will end up being Thunder versus Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, a battle of the 2 MVP frontrunners, Russ versus Oklahoma City. It would be such an insane series, such fun basketball, great storylines, and I do think at the moment, if I had to pick, those are the 2 best teams in the Western Conference. So yeah, Denver's been great. That offense is still one of the scariest things in all of basketball when it gets cooking, and when Jokic is in that zone, especially if Jamal Murray is cooking the way that he was against the Thunder on Monday night. Shout out to the Nuggets for getting their get back after OKC kind of ran them off the court in the first half of the back-to-back. The Nuggets made a statement in the second one. I think that would be an amazing series, and really the big thing kind of in their way at the moment would be the Lakers, who are at the 3 seed right now. I'm not sure if that's where they're going to land, because LeBron James is going to miss at least a week, if not multiple, with that groin injury, and they just lost to Brooklyn. And Luka really did not look good. He shot terribly from the field. Gabe Vincent had a crazy game in that one, and I mean, they were close, but that's one that the Lakers really need kind of Luka to will them towards a win in, and he has not been the typical Luka that we're used to on that offensive end. I mean, he's had some crazy scoring games, some explosions, some great playmaking, but he's not nearly as efficient as we typically expect expect from Luka. I thought this was going to be a game where he just willed them to victory, and that wasn't the case. And so I'm expecting them to lose some games with LeBron James out, especially because like they play the Bucks next game, and the Nuggets, and then the Suns, and then the Spurs, and then the Nuggets again, then the Bucks, and that takes us to March 20th, which should be like right around maybe when LeBron James returns, or at least when we start to see some reports about him coming back soon. They could lose a few of those games, and with the competition around them, you can't afford a lot of L's. The good thing for the Lakers, though, is that really they need to just get into the playoffs healthy. If they could stay kind of around that 3 seed, they have a shot at making a conference finals run. I do think they could beat the Nuggets in a series, because when LeBron and Luka have been out there on the court together, I mean, they just look insane. I did not expect the team to look as good as they have in this Luka stretch so soon. I thought it would take maybe towards the end of the season for them to really start cooking. I thought they would need an off season before they actually became like a scary team in the Western Conference, because it's rare that you see a team make a big addition and immediately click the way that the Lakers kind of did. And I think LeBron and Luka deserve a lot of credit. The role players like Austin Reeves, Jackson Hayes has been great defensively as a big, and the whole team has really bought into this defensive identity that JJ Redick has instilled in them. And I think he also deserves a lot of credit and some real Coach of the Year buzz. I don't think he's going to win over Kenny Atkinson, but JJ Redick is a very deserving candidate for continuing to build this thing up on the fly and getting a team that really just on paper doesn't look that good defensively to defend the way that they have. And the biggest thing for them has been the fact that LeBron James is still one of the best players in the world at 40 years old. I mean, it feels like he's going to end up on All-NBA first team as a 40-year-old guy. That makes legitimately no sense. He is still one of the single most game-breaking offensive forces in the sport, while also locking in defensively. JJ Redick has said that he should be all defense. I don't think he's going to get that nod, nor do I really think he should. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got some consideration for what he's been doing, and I do think it's warranted that he has been playing at that level over the course of like the last month or so. So yeah, shout out to the Lakers. I think that series between them and Denver would be super entertaining. Obviously, there's history between these two teams recently, and I think this would be the best series of the bunch, and the first time in a few years where I actually feel like the Lakers would have a chance to win if LeBron and Luka cook the way that they have shown they can at times, if the defense continues to step up, if they can slow down Jokic anywhere close to the way that they did in that one game. I think that's going to be really difficult over the course of a 7-game series to do consistently, but the Lakers are good. They're really good, and that Luka trade is one of the biggest things that shifted the Western Conference, and before that trade deadline move happened, would not have said the Lakers were anywhere near a contender. Now I think they've got at least a little bit of buzz. I still think it's going to be hard for them to put it all together for a full playoff run, but they've looked really good when LeBron and Luka are out there. And sitting behind them, tied with them right now, actually at the 4 spot, and a team that has a chance to move up and take that spot from them with the LeBron injury are the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis has been a weird team this entire season because they were super injured and they were winning a bunch of games, and I was like, why is nobody talking about the Memphis Grizzlies? They were top 5 on offense and defense, and as of late, they've been slipping a little bit. And part of that is just Ja Morant hasn't consistently been Ja Morant throughout this season. I mean, he's had some better games as of late, but the efficiency has been so rough from him. You need a lot better, especially going into a playoff series. Jaren Jackson has been the best player for the Grizzlies pretty much this entire season, which I would not have expected coming into the year. I thought, hey, we're going to get the Ja Morant revenge tour, and it's just not been the case throughout this season. So it kind of muddies the waters a little bit for me on how I think they could do in a playoff run. Like if they got up to a 2 or 3 seed, I would say, hey, I think they've got a shot at making the Western Conference Finals. But then also, like, I don't think they believe in themselves because they just kind of salary dumped and trade away veterans at the deadline. And I know you need to clear up money for Jaren Jackson, who's going to be asking for a supermax after he makes All-NBA this season. But even still, I thought they would do like a little bit to maybe go all in or at least just help themselves be competitive. It didn't feel like that was the vibe at all, and they've not been winning a ton lately. They've been going through some down stretches. Specifically, they had a stretch recently where they had 3 straight games where they lost on game winners in like the final 5 seconds, which is just insane to have happened to you that quickly in succession. But yeah, the Grizzlies feel like a team that can make some noise if they get the right matchups, if things really click, if Ja Morant looks like Ja Morant, but I don't know if I trust that at the moment. And so it feels like they're not going to quite reach the potential that I felt like they had a bit earlier in the season. I mean, Jaren's been awesome. They still got a great foundation, but it feels like they need to go into the offseason this year and really make some moves to further solidify this team and commit to it being a championship level squad, because I feel like they're not that far away. They just haven't made the right moves around the edges. It might be enough though to grab them one of these top seeds, or it could be, leading to them falling down a little bit. They've won 3 in a row, but so have the Houston Rockets, who are right on their tail. They're the 5 seed at the moment. And Houston has been a weird team also this entire season. I never would have guessed they would be up in this conversation coming into the season. Other people did. Credit to them. I thought they were still a year away from being anywhere near contending for the 2 seed. And I think last time I made this video, they were the 2 seed. They've dropped off a little bit since then. They've had some injuries. They've had some regression. I always felt like they were going to come back down to earth at least a little bit. But the good thing for the Rockets is coming back down to earth is still 2 games back of the 2 seed right now. If the Lakers continue to catch some L's while LeBron is out, they could jump back up to a 3 or a 4 and get home court advantage in the first round. And hey, for the Houston Rockets, I mean, this season to me is house money. I feel like they've exceeded most expectations. They've made a major jump. They put themselves in contention for a home court advantage in the first round. That's a success. They could get swept in their first round playoff series, and it's going to suck if it happens, but even still, now you have some playoff data on the way that your young core is. You've got a lot of assets to make moves in the offseason. Regardless of what happens the rest of the year, it's a successful season for the Rockets. The only way I think it could be seen as a failure is if, say, they start this like big losing streak and they end up as like a 7 seed or something like that, and then they lose 2 games in the play-in and they don't even make the playoffs. That's the only way this could be a failure, and that's like the worst case scenario for the Rockets. I don't think it'll reach that point. I think they're going to do enough to put themselves in the top 6, avoid the play-in range, and ultimately go into a series where even if they're considered the underdogs, which they probably will be in most matchups, just taking a look at experience and the fact that I don't trust this offense to reliably create in a more slowed down playoff half-court offense type of setting, even if they fall apart, you still, have exceeded a lot of expectations. You did great things this regular season. The young core has shown a ton of promise. You regroup in the offseason and you make the changes necessary to be a lot better next season. So yeah, Houston in general, I think, has done an amazing job regardless of the way the season ends, which brings us to the edge of this playoff range with the Golden State Warriors. And this has been one of the biggest changes since the last time we talked. Last time we talked, the Warriors were like fighting for their lives in the play-in range. They might have even been outside of the play-in at that moment. Not the case anymore. They're now 9 games above 500. I think they're like 9-1 or something along those lines when Jimmy Butler plays. He just had a triple-double in a win tonight against the Portland Trailblazers. Golden State has looked insane. I mean, Jimmy has been an amazing addition. I said it when the trade happened that it made sense, that they were one of the only teams that I felt comfortable with trading for Jimmy Butler because they had to get Steph Curry some help. He's fighting for his life out there as the best player in your franchise history, one of the best players ever. Get him a co-star, and they did. And now, not only is Jimmy playing well, but Steph Curry is rejuvenated. Steph is playing out of his mind as of late. He had that 50-piece against the Magic. It feels like he's turned the clock back 4 or 5 years. He has been on an absolute heater. And when Steph Curry's playing like that, when Jimmy Butler's contributing the way that he is, and we know Jimmy can turn up in the playoffs, you've got the defense of Draymond Green, the role players are stepping up. Like, this team could pull off some crazy stuff when we get to the playoffs. I mean, if I am like the 3 seed, say I'm like the Lakers or the Nuggets or the Grizzlies or the Rockets, whoever that is, I don't want to see the Warriors in the first round. That's like the most nightmare matchup possible out of anybody in this range. And I'm not saying like the Nuggets or Lakers are going to lose to the Warriors, although I think the Warriors have a chance, but it's going to be a way tougher 3-6 matchup than I think most teams would have expected earlier on in the season. I don't think a lot of people thought, yeah, I'm going to have to face a rejuvenated Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy Butler in the first round if I get the 3 seed. That's going to absolutely suck. So yeah, the Warriors themselves have completely changed this landscape of the Western Conference and made those, 2 to 3 seed spots a lot scarier just with their presence and the way that they've been playing. It's been exciting. I'm glad Steph Curry has help because when he is, supported, Steph is still one of the greatest shows in all of sports, and we're seeing that. All they had to do was get him a co-star. It took way too long, but they finally did it, and now we're getting one of the best versions of Steph Curry again. I think they land at the 6th seed. It feels like they're the team that's going to end up landing in that spot just because of how red hot they've been with Jimmy Butler here, and they've got the best player out of any of these teams in this range with Steph Curry. But Minnesota is also making a case. I mean, they've won 5 games in a row. They're 10-0 in the last 10 games that Julius Randle has played, and it feels like after at the beginning of the season they were really struggling, they've figured things out quite a bit. Anthony Edwards has continuously been on this tear the entire season where he is one of the league's best 3-point shooters. I thought at some point he was going to come back down to earth because he was hitting like a record number of threes and he was shooting 40%, and that's never really been his game, but no, he's still shooting 40% from 3. He's hit the most threes in the NBA this season, whether it's pull-up, it's, catch and shoot, it doesn't matter. If it's from like the logo, Anthony Edwards is going to pull that shot with confidence and most of the time knock it down. You've got Julius Randle coming into the fold and really buying into this offense. Recently, he's done a great job of kind of letting himself fade into the background a bit more. We've seen a lot more consistent offensive play from Jaden McDaniels recently. It feels like he's starting to really get comfortable on that end. Like even Rudy Gobert has been been hurt and it hasn't mattered all that much. The Wolves are kind of just clicking. Like a lot of the young guys as well have been giving them real contributions, like Terrence Shannon Jr., for example. Naz Reid was given a lot more responsibility after the Cat trade, and he has stepped it up in a big way. He's been unbelievable this season, especially over the time that Rudy Gobert has been out. This is just a team that also is one that I think could give a top seed a much tougher series than they're bargaining for. When you've got Anthony Edwards, when you've got Naz Reid, who plays the way that he does, when you've got a great defender like Jaden McDaniels out there, you're going to be a tough out, an annoying team to face off against, especially if Julius Randle can play better than we typically see from playoff Julius Randle, which is not great out there. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to end up in the play-in range. I think they get 7 and the Warriors get 6 if I had to predict it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get up to 6. I mean, if the Rockets for some reason went on a losing streak, they could fall down and both these teams could jump up a little bit, but I think there's just not enough time to catch up and make like a 3.5 game gap up if you're the Wolves, 3 up if you're the Golden State Warriors. So I think these teams end up 6 and 7. But yeah, I mean, if I'm the Nuggets, it's annoying that I'm going to have to face Anthony Edwards in the first round potentially and Naz Reid, because you had a great battle with him last year. Obviously, you lost that series in 7. It's changed because of Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm still picking the Nuggets in that matchup, but it is one that's going to be kind of annoying before you then go into a potential series against like a Lakers or Grizzlies. The Clippers are at the 8 seed right now. They were a bit higher throughout the season, and then they've slipped a little bit as of late, but then they're again playing good basketball. Kawhi Leonard just had a game winner yesterday night as I'm recording this. He has been back in the lineup for a little bit. It's not really been the Kawhi Leonard that we're used to. I don't know what version of Kawhi Leonard we're going to get throughout the rest of his career. He's had some really good games, but the big thing is if the Clippers want to pull off some insane upset in the first round, they need Kawhi to look like the playoff Kawhi of old, and I don't know if that's what we're going to get. Norman Powell has been dealing with an injury. That is one of the biggest blows to them because he's been their most consistent and best offensive player throughout a lot of this season, and it sucks because he was going to be my most improved player, and now he's ineligible for the award, which really sucks. I think that would have been an awesome thing if he wins the award as a 31-year-old. James Harden, not his most efficient season, but the playmaking is still awesome. Zubac's one of the most underrated players in the NBA, should be getting some Defensive Player of the Year love, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, even the Clippers are a really annoying team to go up against. I think it's going to be hard for them to pull off an upset in the first round of any kind, and I do think they end up in like this 8 spot as opposed to fighting for the 6 and 7 with the Wolves and Warriors. I just trust those two teams a little bit more than Los Angeles at the moment. But I mean, it would be cool to see a Clippers versus Thunder series. You know, Shea playing his former team, of course, James Harden playing his former team. It'd be a fun series. And I'm honestly just even impressed that the Clippers are still in this conversation for a top 6 seed after Kawhi missed as much time as he did. And that's a big credit to Harden, to Tyronn Lue, to Zubac, to Norman Powell for really holding down the fort over that time. The Kings at the 9 seed right now. Zach LaVine has been awesome since he's gotten to Sacramento. I mean, he's been awesome this entire season. That team is a force to be reckoned with on the offensive end. The problem is, of course, the defense is kind of a nightmare over there. There's now rumblings that Domantas Sabonis could be angling out, or that he's going to get to the offseason and he's going to ask Kings management, you know, where are we going? What is our game plan from here? So I think big changes are on the horizon for the Kings. I said this before, I didn't love their deadline. I felt like they could have gotten more for De'Aaron Fox, and I get adding another star player in LaVine, just trying to add more talent wherever you can, but I think there are going to have to be big shifts for the Kings going into this offseason. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's them or the Clippers to go ahead and land that last spot, and if they get there, I mean, they could put up points in a hurry, but I really just don't think they stand a chance against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round, because who is going to possibly slow down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? And it just sucks that they went from that 1 year breaking the playoff drought to, I think, again, another one starting here, because I don't think they're going to end up making it. It's going to be close between them and the Clippers. They're only 2 games back, but I guess they'll probably be in a scenario where they just have to win 1 game to get in, because I think they probably win a matchup against any of the teams that could land the 10 seed, which brings us to that spot where it's the Dallas Mavericks, who, I mean, they're just decimated. We talked about the Luka trade a million times here on the channel. I'm not going to harp on it more, but everybody's hurt. It's Kyrie ACL. It's AD. I don't know if he plays the rest of the season. It's Derek Lively. It's Daniel Gafford. I mean, they're running like 7 guys out there in the rotation because everybody else is in street clothes. It's ridiculous how quickly this team got completely beat up. And I think ultimately their goal is to tank and fall into the lottery. Like, they're not making noise this season. AD's not coming back. They should just try and get a lottery pick and run it back next season. But even then, I think they're delaying the inevitable of an eventual rebuild where they trade Kyrie and they trade Anthony Davis and everything starts to fall apart after the Luka trade. But especially for the moment, I think they want the Suns to pass them. I think the Suns want to pass them. They don't have an incentive to land in the lottery. They don't have their own pick. It goes over to Houston. So they're going to try to do what they can, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. The Mavericks honestly might end up in the play-in regardless, because I don't think anybody's going to catch them, or at least it's going to be difficult, because like the Suns, their strength of schedule is crazy to go ahead and wrap up the season. Let me see if it's still the strongest one after a few games have been played. Yeah, they have by far the hardest schedule left. They have to play the Cavs, the Thunder, the Celtics twice, the Knicks, the Lakers, the Rockets a couple of times. The only three like easy opponents they have are the Spurs, the Raptors, and the Bulls. That's really tough. And meanwhile, for like the Dallas Mavericks, I mean, they've got one of the easier ones. They have Brooklyn a couple times, and Philly, and San Antonio, and Orlando, and Chicago, and the Raptors. They don't have to play a lot of like the best top tier contenders. And I mean, the Mavs are going to be sitting people. I think they're going to be trying to lose, but that might not even be enough to get the Suns into a play-in spot. I don't know, man. I think Sacramento probably beats whoever. And it's just been one of the most all-time disappointing seasons from the Suns. I didn't think they were going to be a contender, but I thought they'd be better than they were last season. Instead, they've been significantly worse. I think KD's gone the offseason. I think a rebuild is coming. Devin Booker is probably not too far gone after him. Budenholzer, I think they fire him. I think they go through another head coach. Again, like they're going to be paying 3 head coaches that they fired recently. Yeah, I mean, it's just a complete disaster over there. It's like nobody wants the 10 seed. The Mavs are trying to drop out. The Suns won't catch them. The Blazers are on absolute fire, and I feel like they might be the team to go ahead and catch up to one of those teams. And now they've lost 4 games in a row, kind of come back down to earth. But I want to give them a shout out. I mean, they've been playing some really fun basketball. Tamudi Kamara is an amazing young player. Then Avdia has been playing out of his mind recently. It's been a better second half of the season for Scoot Henderson. Some great games from Anthony Simons. I like what Donovan Clingan brings to the table. They've got a really good young core over there. If they can go ahead and land like a Cooper Flagg or someone top tier in this draft, I think they pretty quickly become one of the more intriguing young cores in the NBA. And then we get to the Spurs, who of course lost Wemby for the season, and now I think they're just going to try to bottom out a little bit. I would imagine De'Aaron Fox starts sitting games pretty soon here. They're going to lose as many as they can. They want to get Cooper Flagg or another top guy to put next to Wemby, and then we get to the offseason and things get really scary because they have a ton of assets. They have the Hawks pick as well to continue to improve this team around Wemby and Fox. That's going to be a scary proposition over the course of the summer. And overall, I think this was a great season for the Spurs. You see a lot of growth from Wemby. You make a big trade with De'Aaron Fox, and now you go out there and try and add a top prospect or two to continue to support him in the young core. And Stephon Castle might win Rookie of the Year. He's been awesome this season. And then at the bottom, it's the Pelicans, who have been getting great play from Zion. It's been cool to kind of see him back and hooping the way that he has. I'm still a believer, but like DeJounte Murray tore his ACL, everybody's been hurt. I mean, if they add Cooper Flagg, then suddenly you've got a really intriguing young core over there between him and Zion, who is still relatively young. Trey Murphy, you've got Herb Jones, you've got Yves Missi. I wonder if they kind of pivot towards a rebuild in that possibility or that outcome. And then finally, it's the Utah Jazz. I mean, they're eliminated from the playoffs. They're 15-50. They've lost 6 games in a row. Worst team in the Western Conference. And it's not really been close throughout this season. So yeah, that's the Western Conference playoff picture. Overall, just there's a lot going on. A lot of fun storylines in the Western Conference right now. Those are my overall thoughts. I'd love to hear where you have the standings finishing 1 through 10, even down to like 12, 13, 14, 15, if you really want to go that far. Who do you have winning the Western Conference at the moment? Who is your pick? What are the most interesting first round series to you, especially if the standings finish the way that they are? Like, I mean, again, Nuggets versus Lakers in the second round. First round, it'd be Warriors versus Lakers, Steph versus LeBron James. It'd be Nuggets versus Wolves, Clippers, Thunder. There is so much entertaining going on in this conference. I'm super excited to see how it goes the rest of the season. But yeah, for the moment, I appreciate you watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. And yeah, I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.